you to our first podcast. This is our very first discussion, a collective discussion. Correct? Is that fair to say? Right? This is a conversation.
Yes.
So everybody's here. My name is George Padilla, and if you've come into this podcast, you've followed you found it on our website or someone shared it, and you clicked on this podcast, and we're going to give you some background about ourselves and why we're here, and it is both a positive thing, and it is there's positive out of there's light out of darkness is what I'm trying to say as to why this group has come together. And this group of a variety of backgrounds, educators, artists, writers, poets, we've come from a wide range of backgrounds, but we all met in college back in well, let me introduce myself. My name is George Padilla. I'm going to go around the mic so that everybody knows who's in this podcast.
I'm Jean Laura Padilla.
I'm Ceci Monares.
Candace Prince.
And Claudia Castañeda.
Okay, and we all met, except for the Padilla over here is my wife. So we did not meet in college, but everybody else, and there are some people absent at this meeting, but they will be joining us on our next episode. We all met at UTEP, University of Texas at El Paso. Is there anybody remember the year?
Oh my
2002, I believe. 2001.
One?
Yes.
2001.
Because 2002 was our photo
show?
exhibit.
Oh.
Yeah, so 2001? Wow.
Before
that is a
our old-
lot.
Maybe 2000.
Right.
Maybe.
So we all met at the University of Texas at El Paso, and we had started a photography group, and that's how we all
Exposure.
met.
Photo club.
A photo club, Exposure Photo Club.
How did that even start? Did you start it, George?
I started it, but I don't know what's
We
the
created flyers. We just go.
all kinds of with Ben Torres and
So you guys knew each other already?
no,
Oh, you
we
did.
all met through
the club?
No,
The El Paso Photo Club.
right.
Steve Lama.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So we all met because of photography. So everybody has a interest in it, or a hobby, or a passion for it, and it all kind of brought us together. So
Yeah,
we met back in 2001.
A
and
unique
we've-
photography project.
Oh yeah,
24 hours on the border.
right. So we did a really cool project, and we'll jump into that in a future episode. But we all kept in touch throughout the years. We became very good friends, and some have left, some have come back, and here we are. We're still communicating.
We're all
and
parents.
We're all parents.
Some of
Got
them.
married.
Most of us have dogs.
yeah.
Dog
Dogs.
parents. There you go.
Right. And we reached out to each other on a very on a sad day, and it was a very shocking day. And this was on, what was the date?
August 3rd, 2019.
August 3rd, 2019, in our beautiful beloved city, El Paso, Texas. Personally, I was frantically, and this because of the shooting at Walmart.
Mass shooting.
Mass shooting. I was frantically calling friends and family, just checking everybody I could possibly think of to make sure everybody was safe, or if they were at the store that we so frequently go to. It is centralized, and a lot of El Pasoans go there, and a lot of people from Juarez go there. And we reached out to each other. We had a group chat, and I don't even remember who the first one that posted says, "Is everybody okay?"
Mm-hmm.
And everybody started chiming in. I'm okay. Family's okay. So little by little, a little bit of relief coming in on that message board, and my wife is here, Jean Laura, and we were at home, and
Yes.
we started seeing actually on Facebook, right, the posts
Yes, and then got the alert on our
on
phones.
our phone. So we got the emergency alert on our phones, but before that, we heard about the shooting through Facebook. So people were posting, and this was unfiltered posts. So people were doing Facebook Live videos from there, and I kind of feel I was unlucky that I saw a couple of them, because I was just trying to figure out what was going on. I wasn't fully aware.
It was chaos.
It was chaos. And I started watching the video, and lo and behold, bodies right there at the entrance of what I'm so used to walking into. and in the parking lot, just an everyday Saturday, and there they were, and that's what started off our reaching out to everybody that we knew, friends and family, and they say it. El Paso is the biggest small town you'll ever live in.
The smallest big town.
Right. Sorry, got that backwards. Smallest big town. But that was our experience, and that's how we reached out to each other. What was Ceci? What were you doing at that time?
Actually, around that time, I was on my way to the west side, and I was on I-10, and I saw a bunch of police cars driving east with the lights on, but not sirens. So it was just crazy. My daughter was in the back of the car, and she was not even oblivious of what's going on, you know? And I kept telling her, look at all the cops. But I didn't, I just thought it was probably a really bad accident or something like that. And I was on my way to a jiu-jitsu seminar for my kung fu instructor. It was going to be his black belt ceremony. Anyways, when we got there, we were talking about all the cops and everything on our way over there. And then we got on Facebook, and then again we got to see what you were talking about. Yeah. We saw those really graphic posts of people, of dead people, and it was kind of surreal, shocking. And then they made the announcement that there was a shooting, and it was crazy because half of those guys that were training in that seminar just got up and left because they were all law enforcement. And just seeing that was kind of, I don't know, it was like a shock, kind of traumatic, and like, oh crap, what's going on? And this is real, and it's happening here, you know? So it was very, I don't know how to explain it, but I was in shock.
So it made it, watching them get up and have to go in a hurry, that made it just more real.
Yeah, like running to their cars, getting their arms, you know, their
right.
guns and stuff, and leaving to serve and protect, you know. It was crazy because we know these guys, we know, we're close to them, we see them, we in our martial arts community train and stuff, so seeing them do that was I don't know, it was very real and shocking, like, oh crap. And then of course the reactions of our kids. My daughter was there, and she could hear us talk, and mommy, what's going on? I'm scared, you know. Like, having to live that was just wow. I don't know. We couldn't even be there in the moment, enjoying what was happening in that event, which was a very special event because of what was going on in our city.
Yeah, it felt like everything stopped that day.
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yes.
Candy, what was your experience that day?
My husband and I, Tony, were getting ready to go grocery shopping at Walmart, and we were going to go have dinner at the Fountains, which is right near the mall where they evacuated. So the goal was to go eat, go to the mall, and then go shopping at Walmart.
You were going to that Walmart?
We were going to decide after we were done at the mall. And so normally we don't go to that one. We go to the Yarborough one. But if it were that close, we may have just gone to pick up some stuff. So we were probably like 5 minutes away. I think it was down Yarborough we were driving. Not Yarborough, Montwood. And we were 5 minutes away, and then one of my art teacher friends, Beverly, texted and say, hey, she said, I don't know how she got a hold of it before anybody else. I didn't even get the alert. She was first. She said, I think there's a mass shooting over in your neighborhood. Don't go to the mall. And she said there's a shooting. And I was like, oh, maybe it was some just disgruntled or whatever. Like, I didn't think it was a mass shooting. And she said, there's a shooting over there. And Tony and I just looked at each other like, you don't process it.
Right.
And we were like, okay, that's weird. And so I was like, well, do you want to go eat at the Fountains? And he's like, no, not really. Let's just turn around and go get like Leo's or something, or some Mexican food. So we literally were 5 minutes away, and I turned the car around from the mall, and then we just went back the other way. And then we went into the restaurant, and as we were seated, everybody's cell phones in the restaurant went off with the alerts. And it was just surreal to hear the whole restaurant, the alarms going off. And you saw everybody check their phone, process what it said, mass shooting, don't come this way. And then everybody in the restaurant just started looking at each other. And it was just like a moment of like silence. And then all of a sudden, everybody started calling their family. Yeah. They were like, where are you? Are you okay? Where are you? Where are you? You just heard everybody calling each other. And that's when we were like, this is weird. And so I was like, you know what? I don't want to go shopping anymore. Like, let's just go home. Because then there was the mass confusion.
Right.
People were like, on social media, it was really confusion. No, now they're at Sam's Club. Now they're at the other Walmart. Now they're here. Now they're here. There's more than one shooter. There's 3 shooters. And then it was just like, whoa, what's happening? Like,
lots of misinformation.
Lots of misinformation,
yep.
which I can imagine really was difficult for the cops to like decipher, like who started that.
Right.
Panic. You know, and so I was like, you know what, let's just go home, because even if there isn't anything, we don't want to be in the roads to like make more traffic for these emergency people. And so we went home, and then I was supposed to do a ton of stuff for work and school and get ready, and I was just hours watching the TV, and it got to a point where I was watching the television and the news so much that I was just like, not desensitized, but I was like, I can't absorb anymore. I'm not processing this. Like I wanted to cry, but then I couldn't cry, and then I was like, this doesn't seem real. It seems like you're watching a news story in another
like you
place.
said, being able to process it from your friend, you got your first notification from your friend.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people got their first information was just from posts or somebody texting. And my first reaction was, okay, maybe just a couple of people or somebody that they know, familial issue,
because that's what it always is here in El Paso.
In El Paso, is just because somebody that knows somebody, they had a disagreement and somebody shot somebody, and it's not, it's so far and few between that you hear about things like that. I mean, so that my first reaction is that I'll say, oh, they're just overblowing maybe an individual situation.
Maybe nothing happened.
Right, maybe nothing happened. You know how people get. But to hear as it comes out that it was a mass shooting, that's what took a long time to process. It's just disbelief. Very much. And just to give a background on where this is located. So this Walmart is located right. So it's a Walmart, and right next door to it is a Sam's Club. And then right behind it is a movie theater, and the mall is less than half a mile away from it. So this whole area where this Walmart is situated, and even just across the street there's a place that Candy's mentioned was the Fountain. So it's another outdoor kind of mall, and it's just a massive...
It's a high traffic area off I-10.
Yeah, right off of our main freeway. If you're going through El Paso and you're going through this I-10... you just see this massive area, and that Walmart is right there on that right side. Lots of shopping and restaurants all in that area, and that's where it took place. So when you say mass confusion, for sure, because they didn't know if he was going to walk over to the indoor mall, Cielo Vista Mall, and they were trying to evacuate people there. So people thought the shooter was in the mall, but it was at the Walmart. So lots of confusion. You want to share with?
Well, actually, since we had been out late Friday night, we kind of slept in Saturday morning. I got woken up about 11 a.m. My fine arts team, we have a group chat text thing going on, and one of our new mariachi teachers actually was the one who texted the whole group, avoid the malls, there's something going on, there's a mass shooting or a shooter or shooters, and just like Candy was saying, then I started getting, then some of the other fine arts teachers were sending messages they were getting from their students where it said there were multiple shooters. And then I live in Horizon by Eastlake High School, and I think there was an isolated incident about a couple that got they were barricaded in their home not too far from where we live, actually maybe 2 miles from where we live, into Eastlake, Darrington, or a little further in. So it was just very confusing. Well, is that even connected? Is that even connected? And then some others were saying there was like a really bad accident on Vista del Sol and Zaragoza. Someone, like a car that totaled there in that area. I mean, a lot of different things going on. And then I was also kind of worried because our cousin's daughter was having her quinceañera. They've been planning all year. And it was in the hall, was located across Cielo Vista Mall, across the I-10, behind the All That Music that's out there now. So we were even wondering, is that even gonna still happen? And thankfully, I mean, you know, although kind of like how Ceci was saying that there was a very important event and it was hard to enjoy it because of everything that was going on, we did go later that evening about 7 p.m. and sadly the quinceañera's friends, none of them showed up because parents probably didn't let their kids no, you're not going anywhere. So it was a little sad, but they made the best of it. I mean, she had her cake, she had her food, everything was ready. It was a beautiful hall, but I mean, we made the best of it for the birthday girl. But again, same thing, very surreal. I don't think I've, like Candy was saying earlier, been able to truly grieve. I think I don't know, because it is not I guess I don't really go to that Walmart. I live in Horizon. Even the Walmart by where I live, I avoid it because I see a lot of my students. So I'm like, I go to Target. But I mean, now they were saying, oh no, they're shooters. Avoid high traffic areas. Avoid the stores. So I don't know. It's just very, very surreal. And yeah, my husband and I were listening to the news on our Facebook news laptops while we were having breakfast. And same thing, our kids were listening to what we were listening to. And it is kind of hard to hear it from them. Oh, a shooter? Oh, okay. Yeah, they talked about that at our school. If a shooter ever comes to our school and, you know, they've played scenarios and what we have to do. And so it's just kind of, it's hard to process and how to even explain it to them. But I mean, not that we're desensitized, but maybe to a point. And it's sad to, I guess, feel that way. That
I think that's key. What you said, it's hard to process. Mm-hmm. And as parents out there, if it was difficult for us to process it, how do you explain it to your children? Mm-hmm. You know, and how are they going to process it? Kids are resilient, but maybe they'll tune it out on purpose. So we could get into the whole psychological explanation of how children would do it, but that was a position we were in as parents and as teachers. How do you have that conversation with students when the students are all trained for lockdowns for shooters at a school,
right?
And
honestly,
this just made it real for them.
The reason, obviously you want to know what's going on, but I kept watching the news because I was like, is it one of my students? Like, was it one of my students? Like, I was looking for the names of the victims, you know, and I was like, who died? Is it one of my friends? Yeah. Yep. And then, like, the fine arts group at our school was like, okay, check in. Where is everybody? Mm-hmm. I'm here. And then I got a message from the school and from my principal. She goes, I want every single one of my teachers to check in. Where are you guys? And I was like, that's amazing.
Right. That same thing at my school. And I keep group chats, not group chats, but as educators, we do have tools to communicate with students.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I have seniors, so sometimes we keep those groups going, you know, kind of encouraging them when they're going to college and things like that. They kind of lean on each other. And immediately in those classroom chats, is everybody okay? Right. They all, teachers, students, just, and that's something very unique here in El Paso. I mean, everybody's very close together with Juarez. We're over 2 million people here in this metropolitan area, but we're very unique in our community and the connections we make here.
That girl, Jordan Onchondo, the one that was shielding her baby.
Yes.
She died, but the baby survived. I think she fell on the baby and the fingers broke of the baby or something.
Yeah. Her leg or something.
Yeah. Somebody was saying that she was one of our graduates, that she graduated from our high school. It's just crazy.
Yeah, and I think, and you're not alone. Everybody I know was just waiting for those names to come out.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it took a long time.
Yeah, because you grow up here, you've lived here with this in 5 years. You're going to make a lot of friends here in El Paso. That's how welcoming the city is. I mean, just you move in and then just people reach out, and we're very social and
everybody's connected somehow.
Right, everybody's connected somehow. So it took a couple days for those names to start finally coming out, and it was still a shock. I mean, a sports group that were doing sales right there, just trying to raise money for that soccer team. And
that father.
Yeah, one of our aides, he's one of our paraprofessionals. He works in the SPED unit with the FLS kids, and he is part of that city soccer league coaches. So he knew the ones that were out there, and he knew the boy that did, not make it
years old.
From Horizon High School. And we have kids that knew that boy, that went to maybe middle school with him, and they now, some came to Eastlake, some went to Horizon High School. So some did miss school those first few weeks because of that event. And our coach, our para was saying he knew the uncle that did survive. This little boy, the 15-year-old, was with his uncle, and the uncle got hurt, but he saw when his nephew went down, and he had even told him to duck, but he didn't, because what do you do at that moment?
You're in shock.
I even know the art teacher, one of the art teachers, Victor Mudane, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, but from Eastwood Middle, he said his wife was at the self-checkout with their 6-year-old and her sister when it all started, and that's when thankfully they told everyone to get out through the back, so they weren't part of it, but they could have been if they hadn't caught it in time. And even Ms. Romero was telling us how her husband has a hand rehabilitation center, and one of his clients mentioned that he was in the car next to the shooter when the shooter arrived.
Right, when the shooter got out of the car. Just to clarify some of the details that we know of so far, he parked and got out of his car and immediately started shooting within the parking lot, and then made his way into the store.
Yeah, and then this gentleman noticed he was walking out with the weapon, and that he just kind of put his seat back slowly so that hopefully he wouldn't notice him, and thankfully he didn't. But then he didn't know what to do. Do I call the cops at that moment? I mean, is it too late?
And they were inundated. There was just tons of them. And you're talking about being on the phone. Some of the videos that I did see on Facebook that were shared, and there was a guy from Juarez. And just to clarify, we're all used to going to our stores here, and it's just like there's people from Juarez. It's not an idea of foreign or anything like that, like from another country. It's just natural for us to.
They're a part of our community.
They are part of communities. They're sister city. So, and then one of these videos, the guy was from Juarez, and he's videoing, and he's trying to kind of see what's going on, and he turns the corner, and there's somebody laying on the ground in the parking lot, and he just kind of screams out, "Ay, no," and he's saying these things in Spanish, and he's shocked, and he runs over to one of those coaches that was shot, and there was a lady already helping one of them, and the lady's telling him, "Help me stop the bleeding," and you see his hand reaching to this guy, and here's this guy from Juarez, and there is no division there. It's just help people, and that was it. That was his reaction. It's just help. He needed to do something, and that kind of brings us in our conversation here is needing to do something. And I don't know about you guys, but emotions. My first reactions, of course, sadness, but anger, and I had lots of anger that day. And looking for someone to blame and all of that, and this whole array of emotions just keep coming in and out, and then I'm sad, and then I'm angry again, and then just going through that process, and we started to discuss this on our group chat, and I just felt. And no disrespect to prayer, and a lot of people pray and thoughts and all of that, but I felt like it's time to do something. Out of all of this, what can I do beyond sharing something on Facebook, or beyond going to put flowers at the memorial? And there's just to clarify, there is a memorial set up behind the Walmart that everybody has been taking flowers and candles and all kinds of things and to leave there in honor of them. And there's nothing wrong with honoring victims and remembrance, but what happens after the honoring?
What happens after they clean the memorial up?
Right.
You know?
And I think we collectively decided on, let's do something beyond this, something long lasting. And who are we as a city? Because the nation or the world on that day, all they knew of El Paso was this shooting. Or before that, all they knew of El Paso was the wall situation and immigrants coming in, and that is what we become. And I felt like we needed to tell the world who we are.
I know a lot of people were saying we felt like an outsider came in to our safe city.
Yes.
And just invaded.
Yeah.
Because he didn't come from even Texas. Did he come from Texas? He didn't.
Dallas.
Okay, so he.
Yeah.
How long did he drive to get here?
It's about 10 hours.
So he really, set out, and so a lot of people were like really upset that was our image to the rest of the world and the rest of the countries, that, mass shooting. So now we're associated with that. And, I hate to be a part of the club now with all the other places that have had mass shootings, but here we are. And you hear about Parkland and Sandy Hook and Columbine, you hear about them in the news, and they are in history now for that.
Right.
And it's just crazy because it's something you watch on the news for a couple days, and then it moves on to the Amazon fires, and then it moves on to the next thing. And you don't think what happens to those people. I mean, like we talked about where we were and what we felt, but what happened, I mean, we're not even 3 weeks in from when that happened. And so here we are together. There was so many other stages of this. Right. Like the news crews from all over just descended on us. Like there were cameras everywhere. There was interviews everywhere. There were photographers everywhere. There was a long time before names really got released. And then we're still trying to process. And then teachers who go back to school, hey guys, this is how you deal with the kids. There's going to be counselors on site. Hey, you don't know who has been affected by it, so be gentle and compassionate. Me, immediately afterwards, remember, I was on my way to Walmart and we needed groceries. And so I went home and I was stuck to the TV. I still needed groceries. And so I was like, well, I'll go down the road to Albertsons. I was scared to go shopping. I mean, of course, it's probably not going to happen again the same way, something like that. But you're traumatized. And I was afraid to go outside. And it was a ghost town. Like the roads, like there weren't very many people out. And then the people who were in the grocery store were somber. Like it was those awkward smiles. And then it was weird. And everybody was a little like, it's like you're on edge.
Yeah. You not only saw it, you felt it.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is
even driving on the busiest streets that we're so used to driving,
empty.
even
like
I-10.
2 days later.
Yeah, 2 days later, my wife, Jean and I on a Sunday. It was that Sunday, I think, afterward.
So the next day,
passing nearby, just so much less traffic. I mean, you could just see it just visually, and then you're looking at people and you can just see it in their faces. I mean, everybody felt this thing.
But you know what? Like, it was a sadness, right? It was disbelief, and then anger, and then and all this. But like you said, like, we have been on record one of the safest cities in the nation, and then to have this like tarnish that, but everybody came together. Everybody was checking on one another. Everybody was like, are you okay? We were like, everybody's coming out to the memorial. I mean, I don't know how quickly people just put up those murals, El Paso Strong, and then T-shirts and raising money. And
I don't know what the timeline, but it felt like it was that day.
It was that day.
It started
amazing.
So then.
And everybody was so united, and we still are united. And so it's crazy to think here we are, not even 3 weeks and 1 day after this happened. And then here we are. Because you can only be sad and angry for so long. Right. And then what do you do with that energy? And I think that's why we're here now, Yeah,
it's exactly. What do we do with this energy? And that's what we asked ourselves. We got together. It had been a while since we were all together in the same room, and it was fantastic. But
we've been trying to get together, since March?
Right. Since March.
It's in our messenger text group. And then things happen, life happens. We just didn't do it until this brought us together again.
Yep.
I mean, how long we stayed together that first day when we said we need to talk about this?
Right.
It was over 7-8 hours.
Right.
When we met the first time?
Yeah,
at your house?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
It was 2 weeks ago.
So a week or so after.
To be honest with you guys, it was therapeutic for me,
Right.
for sure.
Yeah. We just had breakfast. We had a meal. We sat and talked about what are we going to do.
And then second breakfast.
Hey, by the way, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
It was Fernando who.
Yeah, I was going to
first.
say, I found I
everyone's
screenshot
okay.
Oh
it.
yeah,
everyone okay?
one of our friends from back in the day, Fernando. He's the one that reached out to everybody.
What did he say?
If we're okay.
Is everyone okay? Everyone okay?
That's how it started.
And he heard about it. Is he still in Mexico or?
I think he's in Mexico.
Yeah.
I don't know if Chihuahua or.
Right.
Because he comes and goes, right? He's in El
he
Paso all of a
visits.
sudden.
And to give listeners a background, that is such a normal thing for us.
There's not a divide.
There's really, I know people talk about the wall and the border and all that, but you really don't feel it here because people come from Juarez, from Mexico, just come up and then they go over there. Our teachers here, they know it. Our students cross the border every day
for school.
Come to school.
They stay with a relative in town for the week, and then they go back home to Juarez
Yeah, a lot
on
of
the
my
weekend.
students, they always go back home on the weekends, and that's just normal. That we're just so used to that, and a lot of us, we go over there, and it's just a normal every day for El Paso and Juarez. So our friend Fernando reaching out to us, I guess he might have heard it before I did. I'm here, but
I was yeah.
in all of that darkness, it felt good that people were reaching out.
What made me cry is whenever, because you hold it in. I don't know. It's just hard, right? What really, the first time I cried was when I accidentally saw one of those videos. I don't want to watch them. I don't want that in my head.
I've avoided watching the video.
But what really got me after that was, that was the grief part. But the beauty part was when all of a sudden, like, people were coming from other states to show, like, support.
Right.
Yeah,
and, like, from Mexico.
At the memorial.
Yeah.
They were just coming in from everywhere. And did you see that night, the group from... You could actually see across the border if you had the right angle. A group, they all lit up their lights.
Oh my gosh!
From Juarez, and they were sending the Amor por El Paso, and the whole group.
When we have the Amor por Juarez, they have Amor por El Paso.
That was sweet. And then that guy that drove him from Chicago and donated all those crosses.
You're right. It's pretty amazing the reaction to it, and
that's what got me, because I was like, there's so much compassion in the world.
Right.
Like, that's so sweet that, like, whatever they're doing in their lives in that other state, they thought of us.
And I think that's and I'm glad you said that. There's so much compassion in the world because it feels like there's not, and the not is always showcased and what I would say highlighted.
Yeah.
More so than the actual. And I think the reaction after this, for El Paso, was the actual. Not to, out of this negative thing, a lot of true colors came out, and the true colors of El Paso was compassion.
Yes. Hence why we're here now.
Why we're here. So, Candy, do you want to kind of explain what we discussed and what, moving forward, our group, which has potential to grow, and our message. So we got together, we brainstormed, what are we going to do beyond this, beyond just beyond the mural and time going forward, and defining who we always been, just to re-elaborate to the whoever's watching, listening, what El Paso is, the people of our town.
I think when we were all together, we were trying to figure out what do we do with all this energy that we have and all this desire for change. Because I know you were saying that you were angry, and I think a lot of us felt that, and I think a lot of us felt helpless.
Yes.
Because what do you do? Like, do we just mourn these people, and then in a few months forget about it, and then wait until there's another mass shooting, and then we have this whole thing over again? And so we decided that. Why did this 21-year-old come here and do this? Like, what was wrong? Some people say mental illness, some people say racism, some people say lack of education, ignorance, and it's probably a combination of a lot of stuff. But for whatever reason, his manifesto came out. And then it was more clear than anything, he spelled it out for you.
Right.
And so our concern is that, if we are going to unite and have a group that channels our energy in some way, why don't we do it in a way that we stop this divisiveness, not just in our country, but in our world? Because people are so divided about, cultures and, who has more money, who, you have less money. We're not the same. You come from this region, sexism, racism, gender issues. We are so much more, we're so similar in so many ways, so much more than we are different. And so why don't we do something that showcases how positive that can be? And so, for that kid to do what he did, how misguided. Mexicans, Mexican Americans, they have kids, they have families, they have dreams and desires and wishes and hopes, and they're not just somebody trying to get your job. Like, they're just someone trying to live and survive. You can categorize, there's good and bad white people, there's good and bad Mexicans, but you can't just say Mexicans are all this way. And perhaps if there would have been some sort of like social exposure for this kid, maybe the outcome would have been different. Maybe he would have been more compassionate. And so I think what we decided is that we want to make sure that the rest of the nation and the world knows that our city is more than a mass shooting, that we need to identify the similarities that we all have so that we can come together in a positive way. And so this is how we got united. I don't know if you guys want to add anything to that.
Well, after the shooting, people were posting, somebody wrote that if he had spent some time here with us,
Might have been different.
and we got to take him to our favorite restaurants here. If we got to take this kid to meet our abuelitas.
I love him.
Right.
Yeah.
Take him to one of our Sunday breakfasts or one of our Saturday night quinceañeras or gatherings. And we're very... around here, we get together around food so much. And I think he would have changed his mind if he really...
Of what he was trying to do.
He might have, his whole manifesto, he might have thrown it out the window if he had just learned about us, and we would have taken him in. Personally, in a personal level, at that Walmart where the shooting was, I worked there in the photo lab. I met my wife there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, we met there
1994.
1994. We met working at that Walmart,
that was my
in that
ninth grade
photo
year.
lab there.
That's even more weird for you guys.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so it's kind of, really weird to know that. And and my wife is Anglo, and
you're not,
and I'm not. And she came into my family, and immediately you want to kind of share on your experience?
Were you guys high school students at the time?
I was
already graduated.
I was a month away from graduating high school.
What high schools did you guys go to?
I went to Maltwood.
And you
Riverside.
Riverside.
Yeah, so we never would have met had it
Wow,
not been
right.
for that Walmart.
Right.
But when George and I first started dating, his family kind of scared me. I wasn't used to a big, huge family that took everybody in and was so welcoming. But I quickly became one of them. Mm-hmm. And even when we were just dating, I became one of them. And your sister always jokes that she doesn't see me as a white person anymore, that I'm as much Mexican as you are. So,
but it's that welcoming of not only Hispanic culture, but it's like El Paso
Culture.
yes.
El Paso culture is just have
We're
a seat.
a fusion of
Here's-
things.
We are.
And no matter who you are, El Pasoans will see you as an outsider coming in. We're going to see your face and figure and decide for you that you are hungry, and we will sit you down and we're going to feed you.
Even if you're not hungry.
Even if you're not hungry,
You
we're
better
gonna
be
feed
hungry.
and it's just so welcoming and open arms, and
It's a cultural thing.
it's a very much a cultural thing, and it's so beautiful, and I think that's part of our mission statement. You know,
Do you want me to read our mission?
if you can, please.
So we decided just today, 3 weeks after the shooting, that our mission, trying to figure out what we're going to do, is our mission is to encourage and foster positive connections in our community while revealing unity and strength in our differences. One discussion, one meal, and one mind at a time.
And that's us, and that's our goal. And this is our first podcast with that, and there are projects coming from that mission statement, and we hope to not redefine, but to have everybody know us beyond the shooting, beyond in quotations the wall,
And open your eyes to what's already there.
Yeah.
Like this shooting brought us together, and I think that there's even people within our own community that we would like to connect to, because we're all really in it for the same thing. We just want to be happy and healthy, and the same for our families. And so, if we need to foster positive connections, and uplift each other through our differences, and maybe we can do that through podcasts and through videos and meals and discussions and
Right.
art and poetry and everything.
yes, very
Most
much
definitely.
And today is Sunday, August 25th, 2019.
so. Yes, I guess I should have said that at the beginning. And of course, I did talk about food, and we had food already. Everybody has full bellies before this podcast, but we hope to just highlight everything that's unique about El Paso, and just we're more than these topics.
So what do you envision for future podcasts?
Well, we're going to bring
Food.
in food. We'll incorporate that. We'll incorporate our local cuisine.
Which could also be Asian and
Right.
like
Yeah, we have-
Mexican.
Claudia
all
keeps
kinds.
talking about these yummy noodle places that I want to go try out.
Matsuharu. Then we can do Kometa.
Yeah.
She's so excited.
I'm already- It's going to be lunchtime, and I'm already
India
gonna-
Palace.
You guys are getting me hungry. But discussion.
Is it going to be only us every podcast?
Definitely not. But we will podcast. You'll still hear from our core group, but we will have guests. We'll bring them on, and they might have a difference of opinion than us, but
That's okay.
that's okay. But we are El Paso, and we're going to show that. We're going to show what and who El Paso is.
And the name of our project? Do you remember? We decided today.
Voice is Strong El Paso.
Voice is strong, El Paso.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, there is a pause there, so I want you to envision as you listen to this. There's a colon right there. So, voice is strong, El Paso, and and you'll be hearing more from us real soon. And once we get off the ground with our action, so we're and this is kind of catapulted. I mean, me personally, but I feel like us as a group is that. It's got to be something. If we're honoring these people and honoring our city and all of that, we continue and moving forward and creatively and productively and inclusively and give this share who we are.
Yeah. Create a culture of understanding so something like this doesn't happen to another city.
Yes, exactly. And like we said, if he had an understanding who we were, maybe he wouldn't have done
His
what
manifesto was full of fear.
he did. Fear.
And
Yeah.
if it was full of fear of people taking his jobs, fear of this, fear of that, and fear of invasion, then, I mean, if we could have, squashed that fear,
Right.
that's what we're trying to do for everybody else in the meantime. I mean, what else do we do with our energy?
Right. And hopefully we get more on board, other groups, other people. Well, thank you guys for being here today, the group, and thank you for listening out there, whoever decides to listen to our first little podcast. And there's going to be some fun discussions and food and
You keep saying food.
Yeah. Definitely food.
And a lot of serious.
and a lot of serious, and that's okay. it's going to be a mixture of all of that, but that's who we are, and there's going to be a lot of positive coming out.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys.
Thank
Say
you.
bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you very much for listening.